So Celebrity Cruise Line overbooks passengers, and I get caught in the middle. Stay tuned to find out what happens. Hey there, welcome to the channel. My name is Justin. I'm an educator and business coach, and I help business owners earn more money and spend more time doing the things that they love. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I share tips, tricks, and strategies on how to build a better business. If you like the content, feel free to subscribe and share the like button, and then tell everybody about this stuff because it will really help me share this information with more people. So late last year, my wife found an awesome cruise offered by Celebrity Cruise Lines, and we were so excited. It was a 13-day trip. The itinerary included Yokohama, a day at sea, Kobe, Kyoto for 2 days, Hiroshima, another day at sea, Nagasaki, Jeju Island, Kagoshima, another day at sea, Mount Fuji, which is Shimizu, and again arriving back in Tokyo. And for a killer price of approximately $1,300 Canadian. Now, this was already a good deal, but to throw, icing on the cake, we were able to get a onboard credit for $250. We got free drinks and free Wi-Fi internet, and the tips were included. So what an outstanding deal this became. It was sort of a no-brainer. My wife ended up purchasing it, didn't tell me till after the transaction was done, and then came home and casually said, well, we're going to Japan. And I was excited. It was just such a killer deal. On April 19th, I got a text message from my dad, who also booked this trip. And it was a Facebook post that linked to an article telling us that Celebrity Cruise Line had overbooked their trips to Japan. And they were telling their customers that they were no longer eligible to go, and as such, they were going to compensate them for losses. This is now, at the time of filming here, about a week after that. And of course, we've committed so many things to this trip, and it really leaves us in a very difficult place. But I'm going to go through what their compensation was. Now, of course, with all errors and stuff that comes from a company, there's the general, I'm sorry, this doesn't normally happen kind of deal. A generic wordsmith response to ensure that they're trying to lower the impact or the feeling that they're imparting on you. But then they get to the compensation part, and I'll share that with you here. So option one was to lift and shift to a select 2024-2025 Asia voyage. That cruise ticket and the rate or any promotional rates will be honored for those bookings, made in the same category of stateroom. The other part of that would be then you'll receive a refund of ancillary costs up to $500 USD per person of documented non-refundable expenses, including flights. Now, on the third point on option one was guests who purchase flights by Celebrity, refundable tickets will be able to cancel their airfare and rebook at a prevailing rate once inventory is available. Now, option two was to cancel completely. And with that, you would either A, receive a refund of monies paid, or if you redeemed a future cruise credit, it would be reissued with a new expiration date 1 year from the date issued. Now, if you purchase flights by Celebrity refundable tickets, it will be refunded. Thirdly, you will be issued an additional future cruise credit of $450 USD per person that can be used towards any future cruise booking with an expiration date of 1 year from the date issued. Finally, you'll receive a refund of ancillary costs up to $500 USD per person of documented non-returnable expenses, including flights. So we took this to our travel agent, and here are some of the things that we kind of ran into. According to our travel agent, we were needing to make adjustments to our itinerary in order to qualify for that $500 USD per person. Now, I argued this point because it says it didn't matter whether we made an adjustment or not, as long as it was non-refundable. Now, the ticket that we purchased from the travel agent itself was non-refundable. So while they could rearrange the dates or kind of manipulate the itinerary with the flights that we did for a nominal fee, I argued that we shouldn't have to be doing that in order to qualify for our $500 USD. So long as on the ticket it said it was non-refundable. I ended up having to phone Celebrity because our travel agent was at odds with me, and I confirmed this with one of their agents that yes, as long as my ticket indicates that it's non-refundable, that we were able to then get that $500 USD. Now, as a bonus note for those people who've watched this video, you will also know that if you chose to cancel your flight altogether and you show documented proof of a cancellation, that you are eligible to get the monies back for that. The agent did advise me that if you chose to cancel the ticket altogether and of course show proof of that, that they would be okay to reimburse you up to the price of your ticket. So this is great for those people who may have booked for Japan and excited to go, and now all of a sudden have an option to cancel their entire flight and of course like reallocate that money for next year if you decide to lift and cruise to another year, but then you can take that money toward the flight next year instead of being stuck going to Japan regardless because your flight was non-refundable. We're deciding that we're still gonna go, we're gonna pay, for the extra accommodations. For those people who don't wanna go ahead and do that, you can go ahead and then message Celebrity, and as long as you provide that documentation, you can get the reimbursement of your flight. Now, to do that, you'll have to use the email in the description that I'll put in below, and hopefully that it will be good for you. But like I said, I talked to the agent this morning and they were pretty clear about what that was. So what did I decide to do? Our family decided that we were going to refund the tickets because we have non-refundable flights. We are still losing money off of the compensation package, and we're gonna have to be out money for paying for the Airbnbs that we're gonna go through while we're in Japan this time around. But we felt that this will be a great last chance for us to take our daughter out of school, give her a chance to experience Japan and really broaden her horizons before she enters into grade 4. Your mileage may vary and your situation may vary, but what we chose to do was really to go ahead with the itinerary plan, and we're just gonna have to make some adjustments. Probably gonna try to stay in some cities or towns that maybe are lower in cost for the Airbnb or hotel stay, and then make day trips to different parts of Japan via train. One of the considerations about having to use a future cruise credit within a 1-year time period is that it kind of locks us into having to do a cruise in a year that maybe we weren't really planning on doing. And to be fair, we were originally going to go to Turkey the following year. And if we have to take a cruise, to use up that credit, there becomes the problem of whether or not my wife has enough vacation days to go and augment, another cruise to add on to what we were going to plan almost a month in Turkey. It puts a lot of people at an inconvenience in trying to juggle around itineraries, especially those people like us who plan their vacations, fairly far out in advance because we have kids in school and variables because of work. There's a lot to manage, and to ensure that I have the time off for, that we're not being booked for any one item, it's a lot of logistical work on our part. Having that 1-year limitation, and it does restrict a lot of people who would have otherwise maybe had plans to do other things, but now are kind of pigeonholed in having to do some sort of cruise during that time period. So what could we learn as business owners in this scenario that Celebrity has sort of run into? Well, one of the first things that we could really learn is about a better booking system. So by talking to our travel agent, I found out that a ship holds around 2,000 people, while Celebrity happened to overbook the entire cruise by 1,900. Now that's a huge mistake, and that's a really huge booking error, but it is something that we could look at as small companies, and what could we do in our booking systems to make sure that we don't run into things like this where we're double booking or overbooking ourselves or overcommitting ourselves and then running our business into the ground. The cruise world has been around for a long, long time. Ever since I can remember, I've never run into a point where we have been double booked and had to be kicked off of a cruise. So this is a real first for me. And unfortunately, what this does as a person who's cruising for the first time with Celebrity is really put a bad taste in my mouth. It's like, well, if we can do this time, how do I know this is not gonna happen again? Because as far as I understand by reading some of the headlines that are coming out, this is not the only ship that's been overbooked. There are more than one, especially in this Japan leg, that are being overbooked and people having to be refunded their money. So that is something to be thoughtful of when we're a business, especially a small business, is making sure that we're being able to manage and service the people and not overbook ourselves and not overextend ourselves. As for the announcement, the thing that I didn't like was that I ended up finding out via social media instead of directly from Celebrity. I would have imagined that Celebrity would have our email and of course then email us rather than send a generic email to our travel agent and tell her her block of bookings are canceled or null and void. And then, of course, having to rely on her to tell us later than when we would find out via the media. Communication should be front and foremost for every business, and being honest up front and transparent yields a better trust factor. And of course, we do business with people who we know, like, and trust. To erode that by having us find out via an article online instead of directly into our email box or even a phone call from a service agent. I mean, they could have had their service agents call us individually and tell us that our bookings were canceled, explain why. And that would have been much better PR, better handling than for us to find out on social media and then have to chase after our travel agent, and then of course then receiving just a generic emailed copy of what that compensation looks like. It is their error, not our error. We were there to purchase whatever product and service that were offered. Now, in that compensation package, they talk about the lift and shift option, which is okay for some of those people who have flexible travel schedules, like my parents, who also booked onto this cruise. They're retired, so they can shift quite easily. They can shift to the next year, and they can still reap the benefits of the value that they get. Having the future cruise credit does not guarantee that this will not happen again. And if it does, I mean, I would imagine that so many people would be really pissed off. Now, there's something to consider. I mean, if you were to offer this compensation package, I would have put in the print that you are guaranteed that if you were to book future cruise credit, that they cannot be bumped off the next one, whatever that might be. Every business, regardless of industry, over time will run into an error on their part. It's how we handle those errors that really define and shape the company and its perception to the public. I think that Celebrity could have gone a step further, put in a stipulation that if you were to use a future cruise credit, that you're not going to get bumped, especially if they're lifting and shifting, that booking doesn't get bumped. Something like that gives peace of mind for the individuals, and I think that would have been a very valuable thing to add. So now the flights. When I first read the letter, I felt like it was, okay, well, as long as my ticket was not refundable, I'm going to get a $500 reimbursement to that. And it isn't my mistake, right? It isn't my mistake that you overbooked. And so for me to be on the hook for like the $700 on top for this flight that I took really puts a damper on my view of the cruise line. Now, this was predicating my phone call this morning. Just a small amount to compensate for that, and the inconvenience really put a sour taste in my mouth. Now, this again was predicating my conversation this morning with the person at Celebrity, who said that on a case-by-case basis, as long as I showed that it was a non-refundable ticket and I chose to cancel it, that they would have reimbursed the full amount of the ticket. It sucks. It just sucks that for a consumer to have to shoulder the burden of a company's mistake, really doesn't help. If it wasn't for the fact that I might have to lose this $450 credit, that I might just redeem it for as tight and as close to that $450 as possible, just to make me feel better about it. But I mean, like, I would have rather them give me a higher amount to pay and offset and augment my flight. My personal opinion was that the compensation for the flights, without me talking to a Celebrity representative via phone this morning, really didn't sit well with me. I was quite upset for at least a day or so, as we were fighting back and forth between me and my wife and the travel agents on the interpretation of the language. But I'm glad that I phoned. I'm glad that the travel agent gave me the special number to call so that I could clarify the position for Celebrity. So, hoping that if you are in this predicament, that you now have an option that may be a little bit more palatable than to lose all of your money and, of course, the vacation time, and then, of course, add extra money to compensate for any vacation stays that you might have to extend during your trip to Japan because you're no longer going on the cruise. So in conclusion, from a business standpoint, I mean, it is a business owner's dream to have not enough inventory to supply the demand for that product. I mean, every business owner would love to sell out their time, their products, their services, reap the benefits of it. It means that you either had a really great product and or service, and that is always great to pat yourself on the back because you created an irresistible offer. And every business strives to find that irresistible offer that keeps money coming through the door day in and day out. What I didn't like, and what we can learn from this experience with celebrity as business owners, is how do we deal with the outfall? How do we deal with our own mistakes in a way that, I know you can't please everybody, but to make it more palatable for the people, because it wasn't their mistake, it was yours. And so, if I had no money out at the end of the rainbow, I mean, that's okay. I think I could live with that. The inconvenience of having to now rejig a different, vacation would be, in this case, we decided to make amends with the idea that we're going to go and spend extra money on this trip to still have it, because we're not going to be able to go to Japan the following year. Had I not phoned Celebrity, and had not gotten that information that I could have had my ticket refunded, I think I really would have been pissed about it. I really would have been upset that I wasn't compensated fully for the money that I had invested on this trip that I couldn't get back. But I really think that a better approach for a business is really to be honest, transparent, upfront, and refund the monies that really deserving to go back to the consumer, because it wasn't their mistake. But when you have overbooked by almost double, that's a problem, and that's a problem that should be rectified to ensure that nobody is out any money at the end of the day, and you can wash your hands. Don't even need to give a future cruise credit at that point. That's bonus. That is to try to create a raving fan, which I understand. I think that is a great way to do it. But it should have been iterated up front that as long as they provide proper documentation that all flights, if they were canceled, and any monies that you maybe had for securing Airbnbs and deposits, that they would be compensated for. And if that was articulated up front, I probably wouldn't be so miffed. That's it for this video. I hope you learned something. I hope I was able to help you at least save money, or at least get some of the money back for your air ticket. If so, and if it helped you, leave a comment below. Hit that subscribe and like button if you like these type of videos, because I'd love to produce more for you. But until next time, be conscious, deliver excellence, and have a great day.